Introduction. Friends, if you're excited to watch the upcoming super hit animated fantasy film Ne Zha 2 in English, then make sure to like this video right now. And if you're visiting our channel for the very first time, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on the latest updates, reviews, and all things related to movies. In today's video, we're diving into the much-awaited sequel that fans across the world have been waiting for, Ne Zha 2 Star. We're going to talk in detail about what this movie is all about, what makes it so special, and why it's creating such a huge buzz even before its official release. This video is packed with everything you need to know about Ne Zha 2. I'll tell you exactly where and how you can watch it, whether it will be streaming on a popular OTT platform or broadcasting on a satellite TV channel, and when it will be available with English dubbing or subtitles. We're not stopping there. We'll explore the full production journey of this film, right from its initial concept to the animation process, voice acting, editing, and how the visual effects team brought the fantasy world to life in such spectacular detail. We'll also talk about the creative forces behind the movie, the director, the screenwriters, and the animation studio responsible for this epic sequel. I'll break down the work of the technical team who made sure every scene burst with energy, the music department that composed a soundtrack to match the emotion and intensity of the story, and how all these elements came together in post-production. You'll also hear about the film's budget, the scale of production, and what the early box office predictions are saying. This one's expected to be a blockbuster. And yes, we'll talk about the story, without spoilers, of course. I'll give you a short review that hints at the emotional beats, the action-packed sequences, the return of familiar characters, and the introduction of new ones. We'll go over the themes the movie tackles, how it connects to Chinese mythology, and what new twists are being added to Ne Zha's legendary journey. There's more. I'll share some interesting behind-the-scenes facts, Easter eggs to look out for, and reveal which actors are lending their voices to which characters. Whether you're a longtime fan of the first Ne Zha film, or someone discovering the cinematic universe for the first time, you're going to find plenty to get excited about here. So I highly recommend that you watch this video till the end. There's a lot to cover, and you don't want to miss a single detail. Let's jump right in and explore the thrilling world of Ne Zha 2 together. The story of Ne Zha 2 unfolds like an epic tapestry woven from cosmic threads, ancient rivalries, and the tormented heart of a young demigod who still doesn't fully know who or what he's supposed to be. It begins not in the present, but far back in time, opening with a haunting vision of a celestial war that took place centuries before Ne Zha's birth. A powerful being known as the Crimson Star General was once protector of the heavens, but fell from grace in a blaze of fury, cast down for seeking to control the balance between destruction and rebirth. This myth, recited by an aging sage to a group of terrified children, seems like a bedtime tale, until we realize it's a prelude to what's about to awaken. When we meet Ne Zha again, he's a little older than in the first film, still impulsive, still defiant, but beginning to carry the emotional weight of his legacy. He's become something of a legend himself, respected by some, feared by others, and still not entirely trusted by the celestial order. There's peace in the land, but it feels uneasy, fragile, like the surface of a frozen lake before it cracks. And then the visions begin. Strange dreams of fire raining from the sky, cities crumbling, an army marching beneath a blood-red moon. These aren't just dreams, they're warnings. The narrative begins to fracture here, but intentionally. We bounce between Ne Zha's point of view, cryptic glimpses of the Crimson Star's prison somewhere deep in the void between worlds, and moments in the lives of other characters. Ao Bing, the dragon prince who once clashed with Ne Zha, has retreated to the underwater kingdoms, where he's facing pressure from his elders to rise up and reclaim the surface. But he senses something is wrong too. There's a strange disturbance in the energy of the realms. This fragmented structure allows the film to explore multiple stories at once, gradually revealing how all the threads are tangled together in ways the characters don't yet see. One of the most inventive narrative devices the film uses is the mirror chamber, a magical space where past, present, and potential futures all coexist. Ne Zha stumbles into it during a quest to find answers, and is confronted by distorted versions of himself. Some heroic, some monstrous, some so ordinary it terrifies him more than anything else. This is where the film really starts playing with time and identity, forcing Ne Zha and the audience to question what defines a person, Is it their actions? Their destiny? Their fears? The plot thickens when a mysterious celestial artifact called the Soul Ember is discovered, an object with the power to resurrect fallen gods or destroy divine spirits entirely. This becomes the central MacGuffin, but unlike traditional plot devices, it's more than just an object of power. It's tied to Ne Zha's own life force, created at the same time he was reborn in the first movie. Now, its reactivation is drawing ancient forces back into the world, including the Crimson Star General, who begins to break free from his prison, feeding on chaos, on doubt, on every crack in the world's faith. The middle of the film is a swirling storm of conflict, both internal and external. Cities are attacked by corrupted spirits. The mortal world starts to lose faith in the gods. The divine council begins to fracture, arguing over whether Ne Zha should be sacrificed to stop what's coming. Ao, Bing, and Ne Zha, once enemies, now find themselves reluctantly united, their fates bound by an uneasy alliance. But it's not all heavy. There are moments of humor, of warmth, of flashbacks to when Ne Zha first learned to walk, to fly, to care. These moments aren't distractions. They're anchors, grounding the fantasy in very real emotion. The final act begins when the Crimson Star fully awakens and rips open a portal between dimensions, unleashing a tide of chaos that threatens to engulf every realm. It's an all-out celestial war, with gods, demons, dragons, and mortals caught in the crossfire. But even here, the story doesn't rely on brute spectacle. The real climax is internal. Ne Zha must enter the spirit core, a realm inside himself, where he meets a version of him that would have existed had he followed the original prophecy, a destroyer, consumed by rage, feared by all. They fight not with fists but with words, memories, feelings. It's symbolic, intense, raw. Ultimately, the emotional high point isn't when Ne Zha defeats his enemy, but when he embraces every part of himself, the good, the bad, the divine, the human, and uses that clarity not to destroy, but to transform. The Crimson Star isn't vanquished in a blaze of fire. He's brought down by empathy, by understanding, by a reminder of what it means to be more than fate's puppet. The film ends not with triumph, but with a quiet moment. Ne Zha standing on a cliff as the sun rises, knowing that peace is never permanent, but it's still worth fighting for. The structure, the pacing, the shifts in time and tone, all work together to tell a story that's not just about a boy with powers, but about the struggle to define yourself in a world that keeps trying to write your story for you. Ne Zha 2 isn't just a sequel, it's a reinvention. It tears apart the idea of a traditional narrative, blends the mythic with the psychological, and crafts a journey that feels cosmic in scope and deeply personal at the same time. It's a story that asks big questions, tells them in bold ways, and never stops evolving from start to finish. In Ne Zha 2, character development isn't just part of the storytelling. It is the storytelling. Every major beat of the plot is deeply tied to how the characters grow, shift, or struggle against the pressures around and within them. No one is left on the sidelines, and every arc feels like it matters to the world, to the mythos, and to the emotional core of the film. The magic, the action, the massive celestial set pieces, all of that works because the characters carry it with stakes rooted in their personal journeys. Let's begin with Ne Zha himself. In the first film, he was brash, reactive, and determined to prove that he was more than a curse. He wanted the world to see him not as a monster, but as a child with the right to live, to be loved, to belong. That journey was heroic and cathartic. But Ne Zha 2 picks up where most sequels go flat and flips it. It doesn't let Ne Zha sit comfortably in his heroic status. Instead, it pushes him to a much more difficult place. Now that you've been accepted, what do you do with the power you've been given? Ne Zha is still young, but the world expects him to act like a god. He's pulled in every direction by the mortal realm that reveres him, the celestial order that fears him, and his own inner storm that never quite went away. We see him doubt his decisions, hesitate before fights, snap at his friends. And for the first time, we see him afraid not of external threats, but of himself. What if the thing he fought so hard to escape, the destiny of destruction, wasn't banished, just delayed? That fear, that creeping suspicion that he might not be good enough, drives a lot of his mistakes early in the film. What makes Ne Zha's arc so powerful is that it doesn't follow the traditional hero gets stronger pattern. He does get stronger, yes, but his real growth comes from breaking down, questioning everything, losing confidence, even isolating himself when he thinks others might be in danger just by being near him. One of the most emotional scenes shows him refusing to unleash his full power in a moment of crisis, not out of restraint, but because he doesn't trust himself not to lose control. That kind of internal conflict is rare in animated fantasy of the scale. It's deeply human, even when dressed in divine fire and ancient armor. Now take A.O. Bing. In the first movie, he was a cold and conflicted foil to Ne Zha's chaos. Here, he evolves into something more complicated, someone caught in a tug-of-war between tradition and change. The dragon clans are rebuilding their influence, and they see A.O. Bing as the ideal heir. But A.O. Bing has seen the world outside his lineage. He's seen friendship, sacrifice, betrayal. His arc is defined by his desire to choose peace, even if it means turning his back on his own people. But that choice isn't easy. He faces enormous pressure from his clan, who call him weak for aligning with Ne Zha, and suspicious from the mortal world, who still see dragons as enemies. His evolution is subtle, measured stares, silent protests, small act of defiance that slowly build until he makes a climactic choice to stand beside Ne Zha once again, not because he has to, but because he believes in him, and perhaps more importantly, because he's starting to believe in himself. Their bond is the emotional heartbeat of the film. In Ne Zha, too, it moves beyond rivalry or even brotherhood. It becomes a deep, wordless understanding. They've both been outcasts, both fear their own potential, both been judged before they had a chance to explain who they were. They bicker, yes, but they also protect each other, challenge each other, and occasionally save each other from their worst impulses. It's one of the most refreshingly mature relationships in the story. Not romantic, not overly sentimental, just two souls trying to hold each other up in a world that doesn't make it easy. The antagonist, Crimson Star General, is not a flat villain in the shadows. His presence looms across the entire narrative, and when we finally meet him fully, he's not all rage and destruction. He's something far more unsettling. He's calm, rational, persuasive. He speaks in Ne Zha with the cool logic of someone who believes the gods are corrupt, the system is broken, and that sometimes burning everything down is the only path forward. And what's more, he knows Ne Zha, not just his powers or his past, but his fears. That knowledge makes him dangerous in a way that brute force never could. He offers Ne Zha not battle, but kinship. He invites him to join a cause that claims to free the world from fate's cruelty. And for a terrifying moment, Ne Zha hesitates. Crimson Star's arc is a warning. A hero who once tried to save the world, but lost himself in vengeance when the world didn't want saving. He's a tragic mirror. Not just a villain to be defeated, but a future to be avoided. Then we have Ne Zha's parents. In the first film, they were defined by their love for him, despite the fear he brought. In Ne Zha, too, their roles shift. They are no longer trying to protect him from others, but from himself. His mother tries to reach him emotionally, while his father steps into a role more of a warrior and advisor. Their dynamic is tender but tense. They want to help him, but they don't know how. Watching Ne Zha try to reassure them, to show that he's strong, even when he's barely holding on, is gut-wrenching. Their arc is one of letting go, of realizing that their son is not just their child anymore. He's a force, a leader, someone whose pain they can't always fix. Even side characters, divine generals, minor demons, celestial judges, are given miniature arcs. One former enemy of Ne Zha becomes an unexpected ally after seeing how Ne Zha spares a corrupted city instead of destroying it. Another comic relief spirit unexpectedly sacrifices itself to protect a sacred artifact, and its death leaves a deep emotional impact on both Ne Zha and A.O. Bing. Every character interaction adds to the rich emotional texture of the film. Nobody is filler. By the end, we see a transformed cast. Ne Zha no longer runs from his fear. He accepts that it's a part of him, but not the whole of him. A.O. Bing steps into the world as a leader of his own making. The celestial realm, once so distant and rigid, starts to soften under the weight of the change these two have brought. Crimson Star, even in defeat, leaves behind a world forever altered by his ideology. And the audience is left with a cast of characters who feel not like mythical archetypes, but living, breathing souls still finding their place in a universe that constantly tests them. This isn't character development done for structure. This is character development done to make the story matter. Every moment, every fight, every choice hits harder because we've watched these characters break and rebuild themselves. It's epic mythology with a deeply human heart. In Ne Zha 2, the voice performances aren't just an accessory to the animation. They are the soul of it. They shape the rhythm of the story, elevate every dramatic turn, and give depth to even the most fantastical elements. These aren't just people in a recording booth reading a script. They're artists channeling ancient mythology, modern emotion, and raw vulnerability into every breath. What makes the film truly soar is how each voice actor leans fully into the emotional complexity of their role, never relying on cliches or stock delivery. Every single line has weight, tension, or subtext, making the film feel deeply alive even in its most stylized moments. Ne Zha's voice actor is an absolute powerhouse. His performance doesn't rely on constant shouting or bombastic declarations. Though those moments are there when needed, it thrives in subtlety. In the quieter scenes, you can hear the hesitation, the internal struggle, the burden of someone who's been told he's the center of fate, but still feels like he's on the edge of falling apart. The way his voice falters slightly when speaking to his parents or grows tight with frustration when talking to celestial beings says more about his mental state than any dialogue could. There's a particular sequence where Ne Zha confronts the possibility that the rage within him might be growing again. His voice in that moment isn't angry. It's terrified. It cracks. It pleads. That one performance captures the heart of his character arc. A young god desperate not to become the villain in his own legend. On the opposite end, the voice of A.O. Bing is a study in elegance and precision. Everything about his delivery is restrained, thoughtful, and yet bubbling with unspoken tension. You can hear the centuries of cultural weight resting on his shoulders in every pause and careful phrase. He speaks like someone who's always watching his own words, until he doesn't. And when that moment comes, when A.O. Bing finally lets go of his icy calm and speaks with true emotion, whether in anger, grief, or defiance, it's thunderous. His voice doesn't need to rise in pitch to be powerful. It simply sharpens, becomes exact. In his arguments with his elders, there's a barely concealed edge of rebellion. But when he talks to Ne Zha, there's softness, almost something brotherly. Their shared scenes feel like real conversations, layered with past pain, mutual respect, and that quiet hope that maybe together they could be more than the roles they've inherited. Then there's the Crimson Star General. From the moment he speaks, everything changes. His voice carries mythic gravity, like he's part prophecy, part apocalypse. It's calm in the most unnerving way. There's no need for growling villainy or dramatic pauses. Instead, his performance lures you in. He sounds reasonable, patient, like someone who's seen so much suffering that he truly believes what he's doing is righteous. And that's what makes him so terrifying. His voice slips between tones of weary philosopher and godlike tyrant with stunning ease. In flashbacks, his voice is lighter, more hopeful, tinged with tragedy. That shift from idealist to destroyer is entirely in the vocal delivery. When he finally comes face to face with Ne Zha, their dialogue crackles. Not because they're yelling, but because it's filled with so much tension, so many choices left unsaid. It's a masterclass in restraint, and how menace can be most powerful when it's whispered rather than screamed. Ne Zha's mother brings a quiet, emotional grounding to the story. Her voice is gentle, steady, but always just a little strained, like someone who's constantly holding in fear to be strong for her child. She doesn't get the flashiest lines or the most screen time, but her performance leaves a deep impression. There's a softness in the way she calls out Ne Zha's name, a gentleness in how she advises him. She represents the emotional memory of home, and the voice actress makes sure that warmth is present even in the darkest moments. And when she finally breaks, that rare, painful moment when even she admits she's scared, it's devastating because her voice had been an emotional anchor for so long. Ne Zha's father, on the other hand, speaks with a quiet strength. He rarely raises his voice, but when he does, it lands with the weight of a hammer. His performance conveys a man who's not just trying to protect his son physically, but trying to protect his legacy. He's torn between pride and worry, between the world's expectations and his own instincts as a father. His few moments of vulnerability are delivered so subtly, one shift in tone, one crack in his voice, and suddenly you feel the full weight of what he's been carrying. Tai Zhenren, the eccentric immortal who serves as Ne Zha's mentor, is a surprise standout. The voice actor perfectly balances comedy and wisdom. In scenes of chaos, he's the one throwing in bizarre one-liners and sarcastic remarks. But in moments of reflection, his voice dips into something ancient, like he's been watching generations rise and fall, and this time he's more afraid than he lets on. It's that switch, that ability to go from laugh-out-loud absurdity to mystical gravitas in the span of seconds, that makes his performance so compelling. He's not just comic relief. He's a reluctant heart of the divine world, and his voice actor nails it. Even the minor characters, the celestial judges, the rebellious spirits, the foot soldiers in the dragon army, are voiced with intention. You can hear bitterness, loyalty, confusion, ambition. No voice feels generic. Every background line sounds like it belongs to someone with a story, someone who could have had their own arc if the camera had just lingered a little longer. That's a rare feat in any film, let alone a fast-paced animated epic. What brings all of this together is the emotional synchronization between voice and animation. The animators clearly built facial expressions, pacing, and even the physics of movement around the voice performances. You see a character's shoulders tighten, exactly as their voice cracks. You watch their eyes narrow or soften in perfect sync with their tone. It's seamless. It makes the story feel not like an animated fantasy, but a living, breathing performance that just happens to take place in a mythological universe. The cast doesn't just perform, they become their characters. They don't play gods, dragons, or warriors. They play people with fears, memories, and desires who happen to wield cosmic power. That's why the stakes feel so real. That's why the battles hit harder. That's why the quiet scenes linger. It's not just the story or the animation or the direction. It's the voices behind it all, giving life to legends. What makes the direction of Ne Zha 2 truly remarkable is how it operates on multiple levels simultaneously: emotional, mythological, philosophical, and visual, without ever losing momentum or becoming a mess. The director isn't simply focused on moving the story from point A to point B. They are architecting an experience, one that blends ancient Chinese mythology with modern storytelling techniques, and they do so with absolute confidence and stylistic flair. Let's start with the overarching tone. This is not just a high-energy fantasy adventure. It's a spiritual journey laced with tension, rage, hope, and rebellion. The director orchestrates the mood like a conductor shaping a symphony. One moment we're caught in the middle of a thunderous battle in the clouds where the sky seems to scream with color and motion, and in the very next breath, we're in a muted, cold chamber where Ne Zha sits still, his eyes lost in a memory, surrounded by silence, so heavy it feels like it could collapse the frame. These shifts are bold, almost aggressive at times, but they're not chaotic. There's a logic to every emotional pivot. The director's hand is firm, even when the emotions are volatile. And it's this control over mood that allows the film to feel both explosive and intimate. The visual storytelling deserves its own spotlight. The director doesn't waste a single frame. Every shot serves a purpose beyond just looking pretty, though it absolutely does that too. Landscapes mirror character psychology. Vast deserts echo feelings of isolation. Labyrinthine cities pulse with anxiety and tension. Even the celestial heavens, traditionally shown as gleaming and serene, are instead presented as fractured and fading, suggesting a higher power in decline, mirroring the gods' diminishing moral authority over mortals. The placement of characters in a frame is often used to communicate emotional power dynamics. Ne Zha is frequently framed in center shots that gradually zoom in as he confronts uncomfortable truths, emphasizing how the world keeps pressing in on him. Pacing-wise, the film is structured with layers. The director builds narrative momentum, not only through plot beats, but through emotional crescendos. The story may pause for a flashback or a moment of quiet reflection, but these pauses aren't detours. They're strategic. They give the audience time to breathe before plunging into the next wave of conflict. The way the film ramps up toward the climax is almost tidal. You can feel the weight of what's coming even before it arrives. The battles aren't placed at regular intervals. They erupt when the characters are emotionally ready for them, not just when plot demands it. This gives the action real emotional gravity. A fight scene becomes more than spectacle. It becomes catharsis. One of the most daring creative choices a director makes is how the fantastical and the psychological are blended. Ne Zha isn't just fighting gods and monsters. He's wrestling with visions, with fragmented future selves, with metaphysical doubles that reflect his doubt, anger, and suppressed identity. And the director visualizes this inner struggle with sequences that abandon traditional logic. There are moments where reality seems to fold in on itself, when Ne Zha falls through a memory and lands in a dream, only to wake up in someone else's regret. These shifts are dizzying, sometimes deliberately disorienting, but they're never confusing. They invite the audience into Ne Zha's fractured perspective, into his emotional storm. It's risky, surreal filmmaking, and it works because the director roots it in a clear emotional truth. The handling of mythological material is also something special. This isn't just a retelling an ancient tale. It's a reinterpretation, one that feels urgent and modern while still reverent to its roots. The director doesn't over-explain the mythology. He lets it live and breathe through symbols, through rituals, through unspoken traditions in the background. When a god performs a sacred rite or speaks in riddles, it doesn't feel like an info dump. It feels like we're eavesdropping on a world that has existed long before we arrived. The lore unfolds through context and visual cues, writing etched into ancient walls, whispered chants, or lingering shot of objects whose power is only revealed later. The audience is trusted to connect the dots, and that trust makes the experience richer. Then there's the thematic control. The film grapples with destiny versus identity, generational trauma, divine failure, and the price of self-determination. These aren't shallow messages thrown in to sound smart. They're embedded in every layer of the film. The director takes these heavy ideas and makes them visceral. You don't just understand Ne Zha's existential crisis. You feel it. When he refuses to kill an enemy who mirrors his younger self, or when he questions why the heavens demand obedience from mortals, it lands hard because the direction has built to those moments with purpose. Every earlier decision, every image, every note of the score, all of it has been pointing to these questions. Even the action choreography, under the director's guidance, isn't just physical, it's expressive. Fights unfold like conversations. Each strike says something. When Ne Zha clashes with A.O. Bing, it isn't just about power. It's about disappointment, misunderstanding, and heartbreak. Their movements echo a dance they once shared, twisted now by fear and fury. It's storytelling through motion, and it elevates the emotional resonance far beyond what most fantasy action films attempt. The final act is the purest expression of the director's vision, not because it's the biggest or loudest part of the film, but because it encapsulates every emotional and thematic thread the story has been weaving. As heaven and earth collide and gods fall from grace, the story narrows in, not on destruction, but on a moment of quiet defiance. The director doesn't end with a grand victory or a speech. Instead, the climax is Ne Zha choosing not to fulfill a prophecy written for him, but to write a new one. That's the power of the direction here. It doesn't just ask what a hero can do. It asks who a hero is allowed to be, and it answers not with words, but with vision. This is direction that doesn't just elevate the film. It defines it. Every beat, every shadow, every whisper and roar is meticulously placed, not for style alone, but to serve a story that dares to be more than myth. It's a bold cinematic act of creation, and it hits with the force of thunder. The cinematography in Ne Zha 2 is nothing short of a visual symphony, where every camera angle, lighting choice, and frame composition is meticulously crafted to enhance the storytelling and immerse the audience fully in this richly textured mythological world. It's a vivid dance of light and shadow, motion and stillness, scale and intimacy, all working together to evoke emotion, deepen character understanding, and amplify the narrative's impact. The cinematographer's eye is relentless, ensuring that each shot serves a dual purpose: to dazzle the senses and to communicate subtle layers of meaning. Camera angles in this film are used as powerful storytelling tools rather than mere methods of capturing action. Early on, we see Ne Zha frequently framed in high-angle shots that look down on him from vast, imposing architecture or celestial skies. This visual choice immediately establishes a feeling of smallness and vulnerability, a boy dwarfed by divine expectations and looming fate. These moments aren't just about physical scale, but emotional weight. Ne Zha's loneliness, his sense of being an outcast in a world that both fears and reveres him. The viewer isn't just watching him. They're invited to feel his isolation through the lens itself. As the story progresses, the cinematography shifts dynamically, reflecting Ne Zha's evolving confidence and identity. The camera drops to eye level during pivotal conversations, creating an immediacy and connection that draws the viewer into the character's inner world. In moments of triumph or confrontation, low-angle shots dominate, empowering Ne Zha visually and symbolically. It's as if the camera itself acknowledges his rising strength and agency, inviting us to see him not just as a child or a pawn of prophecy, but as a god in his own right. This shifting perspective subtly maps the emotional journey, guiding us through his uncertainties, struggles, and eventual self-acceptance. Framing is a masterstroke throughout the film, often doubling as a visual metaphor. Characters are frequently trapped within architectural elements, doorways, windows, lattice screens, that function as symbolic cages, visually reinforcing themes of confinement and destiny. One particularly haunting sequence features Ne Zha reflected in a fragmented mirror, each shard revealing a different emotion: fear, anger, hope, doubt. This shattered imagery conveys his fractured identity and inner turmoil with a poetic clarity that dialogue alone could never achieve. The use of negative space is also clever. Moments where characters are dwarfed by the emptiness around them heighten feelings of alienation or existential threat, while crowded, chaotic frames during battles and rituals underscore the overwhelming forces at play. Lighting in Ne Zha 2 is a storytelling language unto itself. The cinematography uses chiaroscuro, bold contrast between light and darkness, to underscore the film's emotional and moral conflicts. Dark scenes bathe in cool blues and deep purples convey despair, mystery, and the unknown aspects of Ne Zha's destiny. In contrast, scenes awash in warm golds and fiery reds symbolize hope, passion, and divine power. One breathtaking moment sees Ne Zha standing atop a cliff as dawn breaks, the first rays piercing the mist in a soft glow that feels both triumphant and fragile. The interplay of light and shadow often highlights internal battles, as characters are literally half-lit, caught between darkness and illumination, good and evil, doubt and determination. The cinematographer's willingness to experiment with surreal, dreamlike visuals elevates the film's psychological depth. During sequences that explore Ne Zha's subconscious or mystical realms, the camera behaves in unconventional ways, blurring, distorting, splitting frames to convey confusion and fractured perception. For instance, a scene in a hall of endless mirrors uses repeated reflections and shifting angles to immerse the audience in Ne Zha's self-examination and doubts. These stylistic choices are bold, but never gratuitous. They deepen the narrative by making the viewer experience the character's disorientation and growth firsthand. Movement within the frame is just as deliberate. Action scenes employ sweeping tracking shots that follow characters fluidly through dynamic, three-dimensional spaces, making battles feel kinetic and immediate. The camera often swirls and dips, weaving through flying debris and flashing elemental magic, placing the audience right in the heart of the chaos. But in contrast, the quieter moments are given stillness and lingering close-ups. The camera holds on subtle expressions, a flicker of emotion in the eyes, a trembling breath, a clenched jaw, allowing these intimate details to resonate. This juxtaposition of frenetic movement and contemplative stillness creates a rhythmic pacing that keeps viewers emotionally engaged and visually stimulated. Certain visually striking sequences stand out as landmarks of the film's cinematography. The mirror chamber, when Ne Zha confronts multiple versions of himself, is a masterful interplay of lighting, reflection, and framing. Each mirror surface refracts different emotional states and possible futures, creating a kaleidoscope of images that symbolize his fragmented identity. The camera glides and twists through this space, disorienting and captivating simultaneously. Another unforgettable scene is the aerial battle above a storm-churned ocean, where the camera swoops and dives with relentless energy, capturing the epic scale and raw power of the clash. The storm's fury mirrors emotional tempest raging within the characters, and the cinematography makes this connection palpable. Color grading and palette choices are seamlessly integrated with lighting and framing to heighten the film's emotional resonance. Fiery reds and molten oranges dominate scenes of transformation and conflict, bathing the screen in heat and intensity. Conversely, icy blues and steel grays permeate moments of doubt, isolation, and impending doom, creating a chilling atmosphere that contrasts beautifully with the warmer hues. These color shifts are never random. They track the narrative's emotional highs and lows, guiding the audience's feelings alongside the story progression. The cinematography also excels in world building through visual storytelling. Vast celestial realms, mystical underwater kingdoms, and ancient, crumbling temples are all rendered with exquisite detail and atmospheric lighting that make these fantastical settings feel tangible and alive. The camera lingers on textures, the cracked stone of an altar, the shimmer of dragon scales, the flicker of ethereal flames, inviting viewers to lose themselves in the film's rich, immersive universe without a word of exposition. In scenes of dialogue and character interaction, the cinematography uses composition and depth of field to communicate unspoken tensions and relationships. Characters may be placed in opposing halves of the frame, emphasizing conflict or distance, or drawn together in tight two-shots that highlight fragile alliances or burgeoning trust. The camera's subtle shifts and focus changes often reflect the shifting power dynamics and emotional undercurrents between characters, adding layers of meaning to what might otherwise be straightforward conversations. Lighting also serves to highlight character transformation. As Ne Zha grows more confident and embraces his identity, the shadows that once obscured him recede, replaced by stronger, more direct illumination. The editing in Ne Zha 2 is a masterclass in cinematic rhythm, a pulsating force that propels the film's sprawling narrative while carefully nurturing its emotional core. Far from being a simple technical function, the editing becomes a storytelling tool in its own right, one that shapes how the audience experiences the story's highs and lows, the swift tempest of battle, and the delicate moments of vulnerability. The editors have crafted a flow that feels organic and alive, moving with the fluidity of the mythic currents that run through the film itself. From the opening scenes, the editing sets the tone for the film's intricate dance between spectacle and introspection. It knows when to ease the viewer into Ne Zha's world and when to thrust them headlong into chaos. The beginning unfolds with deliberate pacing, where shots are given room to breathe and transitions are smooth and graceful. The cuts aren't rushed. They allow audiences to absorb the intricate details of the mythological setting and the complex emotional landscape of characters. This measured approach lays a solid foundation, ensuring that viewers aren't lost in the grandeur, but instead become deeply invested in the story and its stakes. As the plot thickens and Ne Zha's internal and external conflicts escalate, the editing picks up pace with exhilarating precision. Action sequences are edited with a kinetic energy that dazzles without overwhelming. The editors skillfully balance rapid cuts with moments of visual clarity, ensuring that the choreography of battles remains readable even amid explosions of elemental magic and flying debris. Instead of disorienting the audience, the editing enhances the visceral impact of combat, making each strike, dodge, and spell feel weighty and consequential. The rhythm here mimics the pulse of battle itself. Unpredictable, intense, yet controlled enough to let you catch your breath between blows. One of the film's standout editing achievements lies in how it handles its non-linear and surreal narrative moments. Dream sequences, flashbacks, and visions are woven into the story with cuts that become progressively faster, more fragmented, and more abstract, mirroring Ne Zha's fracturing sense of self and the chaotic swirl of destiny and memory. These sequences might seem disorienting on paper, but the editing anchors them emotionally, allowing the audience to navigate the labyrinth of timelines and realities alongside the protagonist. The use of jump cuts, dissolves, and overlaying images during these moments creates a kaleidoscopic effect, fragmented yet meaningful, inviting viewers to piece together the puzzle of Ne Zha's identity and fate. Yet, the film never falls into the trap of relentless pace. The editors understand the power of silence and stillness, carving out quiet moments where the narrative slows down to allow emotional reflection and character development. These scenes are edited with patience, holding on subtle expressions, soft glances, or lingering shots of surroundings that echo the character's internal states. The contrast between these contemplative pauses and the film's high-octane sequences creates a dynamic ebb and flow, a rhythm that mimics the natural cycles of tension and release in storytelling. This modulation of pace helps maintain engagement without exhausting the viewer, providing emotional depth alongside spectacle. Dialogue-driven scenes benefit immensely from the editing's nuanced timing. The editors cut between speakers with a keen sensitivity to conversational rhythm, capturing not just what is said, but what is felt beneath the surface. The choice to linger on a character's reaction, to delay a cut for just a beat longer, or to intercut with symbolic image, adds layers of subtext and meaning. These editorial choices make exchanges crackle with unspoken tension, intimacy, or conflict, turning ordinary conversations into emotionally charged encounters that reveal character motivations and deepen relationships. Parallel editing is used strategically to build suspense and interweave multiple storylines, heightening narrative tension by showing simultaneous actions converging toward critical moments. For example, sequences where Ne Zha's personal struggles are cross-cut with the machinations of antagonistic forces create a sense of impending collision. The pacing of these parallel threads increases as the film approaches its climax, tightening the narrative and ratcheting up the stakes without sacrificing clarity. In the climactic sequences, the editing reaches a fever pitch. The cuts accelerate, weaving together the explosive battles, emotional confrontations, and thematic revelations with an almost musical rhythm. Fast-paced intercuts convey the chaos and urgency of the conflict, but the editors are careful to punctuate this with slower moment of pause, a breathless look, a flash of doubt, a decisive gesture that give weight and clarity to the narrative turning points. This sophisticated layering keeps the audience both exhilarated and emotionally connected, ensuring that the spectacle never overshadows the heart of the story. The editing also works in tandem with the film's sound design and score, amplifying emotional beats and narrative shifts. Quick cuts often coincide with bursts of music and sound effects, heightening tension and excitement, while slower fades and dissolves sync with quieter moments, allowing the audience to reflect and absorb. This synergy creates a fully immersive experience, where editing is not an isolated craft, but an integral part of the storytelling ecosystem. Overall, the editing of Ne Zha 2 crafts a cinematic rhythm that is both compelling and nuanced. It manages a delicate balance, moving the story forward with energy and excitement, while allowing emotional nuances and thematic depth to flourish. The film's flow never feels forced or mechanical. It breathes, pulses, and swells like the very forces of fate and identity that it explores. This masterful control of pacing ensures that viewers are constantly engaged, not just as spectators of mythic spectacle, but as empathetic participants in a deeply human journey. The soundtrack and score in Ne Zha 2 are nothing short of a sonic journey that envelopes the viewer in the film's mythological universe, elevating every frame with a rich tapestry of sound that blends tradition and modernity in a way that feels both grand and intimately human. From the opening moments, the music announces itself not just as an accompaniment, but as a central character in the storytelling, guiding emotions, building tension, and enriching the narrative's cultural and emotional depth. It's an extraordinary feat of composition and sound design that works tirelessly beneath the surface to draw viewers deeper into Ne Zha's world. The composer's approach is deeply respectful of the film's cultural roots, skillfully weaving traditional Chinese instruments into a sweeping orchestral score that feels cinematic and epic without losing its authentic texture. Instruments like the guzheng, eru, dizi, and traditional percussion aren't mere sonic flourishes. They're integral voices in the musical narrative. Their distinctive timbres evoke ancient temples, celestial realms, and the mystical heritage of the story. At the same time, these traditional sounds are seamlessly interlaced with modern elements, such as electronic pulses, layered strings, and powerful brass sections, creating a soundscape that is both timeless and strikingly contemporary. This blending reflects the film's own narrative tension between age-old destiny and the forging of a new path. One of the most compelling features of the score is its use of recurring musical themes or leitmotifs, short, memorable melodies associated with specific characters, ideas, or emotions that evolve alongside the story. Ne Zha's main motif is a particularly memorable one, starting with a delicate, almost hesitant melody played on stringed instruments, capturing his vulnerability and inner conflict. As his character grows more confident and defiant, this motif swells into a triumphant, richly layered theme that incorporates full orchestral power, signaling his transformation from misunderstood outcast to empowered hero. The audience, consciously or not, comes to recognize these shifts in the music as markers in Ne Zha's emotional and narrative journey. The antagonist theme stands in stark contrast, a brooding, ominous composition filled with dissonant chords, deep percussive beats, and shadowy woodwinds. It creates a sonic aura of menace and mystery, underscoring the weight of the opposing forces Ne Zha must face. The interplay between these motifs plays out like a musical conversation throughout the film, heightening the drama and deepening the sense of conflict. Even without dialogue, the music signals shifting power dynamics, internal struggles, and thematic stakes. Beyond the use of themes, the score's dynamic range is impressive and thoughtfully deployed. Epic battle sequences erupt with booming percussion, soaring strings, and pounding rhythms that mirror the kinetic energy on screen, making the viewer feel the raw power and chaos of divine combat. Yet the soundtrack knows exactly when to dial back the intensity. Quiet moments, scenes of introspection, doubt, or sorrow, are underscored by sparse, haunting melodies or near silence, creating space for emotional reflection. These moments of restraint are crucial. They give the music room to breathe and allow the audience to connect with the characters on a deeper level. The contrast between explosive orchestral crescendos and minimalist passages makes the music's impact all the more powerful. Silence itself is used expertly as a compositional tool. Rather than simply filling every moment with sound, the film embraces stillness and absence of music to heighten suspense or draw focus to a character's internal state. For example, before a pivotal battle or a moment of revelation, the score will fade into near silence, amplifying tension and anticipation. These quiet spaces make the return of music, whether a subtle motif or a full orchestral blast, feel like a cathartic release, engaging the audience's emotions in a visceral way. The soundtrack's integration with the film's sound design is also noteworthy. The music doesn't compete with environmental sounds, dialogue, or effects. Instead, it complements them in a carefully balanced soundscape. The rustle of leaves, the crackling of fire, the distant thunder, all merge seamlessly with the score, creating a rich auditory environment that grounds the fantastical elements in reality. This blending enhances immersion, making scenes feel lived in and palpable. Certain scenes showcase the soundtrack's ability to evoke specific moods and cultural resonances. During moments of ritual or spiritual significance, traditional instruments take center stage, their plaintive melodies evoking the sacred atmosphere of ancient rites. In contrast, during action-packed sequences, the music's tempo accelerates and thickens, driving the momentum forward with relentless energy. The careful modulation between these moods supports the film's shifting emotional landscape, helping to underscore the themes of fate, rebellion, and transformation that run throughout the narrative. Moreover, the composer uses subtle musical cues to signal narrative shifts or foreshadow events. A faint echo of Ne Zha's motif might play in the background during a scene focused on another character, suggesting their connection or impending interaction. Minor tonal changes in the music can hint at hidden dangers or internal turmoil, adding a layer of complexity to the storytelling. These details reward attentive viewers and create a cohesive musical fabric that weaves through the film's many threads. The score also shines its ability to convey character emotion without words. Soft, melancholic passages reflect Ne Zha's loneliness and self-doubt, while bold, soaring themes capture his moment of courage and defiance. The music's ebb and flow mimic the protagonist's psychological journey, transforming abstract feelings into palpable sounds. This emotional intelligence in composition makes the soundtrack resonate deeply, making viewers feel not just a story, but the soul beneath it. In the film's climactic moments, the music reaches a breathtaking peak. The orchestration swells into a majestic wave of sound, blending the heroic motifs with the full power of the orchestra, choir, and traditional instruments. The score here doesn't just accompany the action. It amplifies the stakes, the emotions, and the sense of cosmic significance. The soundtrack becomes a triumphant anthem for Ne Zha's transformation and the film's overarching themes of destiny and self-determination. Throughout the entire film, the soundtrack maintains a careful balance, never overpowering dialogue or visuals. It enhances rather than distracts, supporting the storytelling with subtlety and grace. This thoughtful integration ensures that the music feels like a natural extension of the film's world and characters, not an afterthought or mere embellishment. In essence, the soundtrack and score of Ne Zha 2 serve as a powerful narrative voice in their own right. They bring texture, depth, and emotional richness to the film, carrying the weight of ancient myth while breathing fresh life into the story. Through masterful composition, recurring motifs, dynamic range, and cultural authenticity, the music invites audiences to feel the full sweep of Ne Zha's journey. from doubt to defiance, isolation to empowerment. Ne Zha too plunges into a vibrancy of themes and messages that resonate far beyond its dazzling surface, inviting viewers to engage with deep, universal questions wrapped in the colorful cloak of mythology and fantasy. This isn't just a story of gods, demons, and epic battles. It's a rich exploration of what it means to find oneself, challenge destiny, and navigate the complexities of identity and belonging in a world that often insists on boxing people in. The film manages to weave these heavier themes organically into its narrative, never feeling preachy or forced, but instead breathing life and emotional weight into every scene. At the very heart of the story is the quest for self-identity, a theme that reverberates on many levels. Ne Zha's journey is as much about his internal struggles as it is about external conflicts. From the start, he is burdened by others' expectations and a fate seemingly written in stone. The film delves into the universal human experience of trying to define oneself amid societal pressures and predetermined roles. Ne Zha's rebellion is not mere youthful defiance. It's a profound fight to reclaim autonomy and assert the freedom to choose who he wants to be. This struggle is portrayed with nuance, showing the emotional turbulence that comes with rejection, misunderstanding, and a desire to break free from imposed identities. The film taps into the timeless tension between how we see ourselves and how the world tries to see us, making Ne Zha's story relatable across cultures and generations. Closely tied to identity is the ever-present tension between fate and free will. The narrative poses provocative, philosophical questions. Are our lives governed by unchangeable destinies, or can we rewrite our own stories? Ne Zha, too, doesn't offer easy answers. Instead, it presents the struggle as messy, painful, and full of uncertainty. Throughout the film, characters grapple with prophecies, expectations, and the crushing weight of legacy, yet they also demonstrate moments of choice and rebellion that suggest destiny is not absolute. This exploration invites the audience to consider the balance between accepting what life hands us and forging new paths, a theme that resonates with anyone facing difficult decisions or societal pressures. Acceptance, both of self and by others, is another profound theme the film explores with care and emotional depth. Ne Zha's experience as an outcast, feared and misunderstood by those around him, mirrors real-world experiences of exclusion and marginalization. The film doesn't shy away from portraying the pain and loneliness that come from being rejected, but also celebrates the transformative power of empathy, understanding, and forgiveness. Acceptance is shown not as a simple endpoint, but as an ongoing process that requires vulnerability and courage from both the individual and their community. This message is especially powerful in a world where difference is often met with fear or hostility, reminding viewers that true connection arises from seeing others beyond surface labels. When it comes to the classic battle between good and evil, Ne Zha offers a refreshing take that avoids clear-cut binaries. Instead of presenting heroes as flawless paragons and villains as irredeemable monsters, the film embraces moral complexity. It shows how characters are shaped by circumstance, choice, and perspective. Sometimes antagonists act out of pain, fear, or misguided intentions, while heroes struggle with their own flaws and doubts. This nuanced portrayal deepens the story, making conflicts feel more real and relatable. It also challenges viewers to reflect on themes of forgiveness, judgment, and the possibility of change in others, a thoughtful approach that adds layers to the film's narrative and emotional impact. The film also highlights the weight of responsibility that comes with power and agency. Ne Zha's transformation isn't just about gaining strength, but about learning what it means to wield that strength wisely. The story underscores that true heroism involves making difficult moral choices, standing up for what is right even when it's hard, and accepting the consequences of one's actions. This theme plays out in moments when Ne Zha must choose between comfort and challenge, personal desire and greater good. The film respects the complexity of these decisions, showing that growth often comes through struggle, sacrifice, and reflection. Resilience and transformation pulse through the narrative as well. Ne Zha's journey from a feared outcast to a confident hero is a testament to the human spirit's capacity to adapt, learn, and overcome. This message of hope is woven into the film's fabric through scenes of failure and redemption, despair and renewal. It reassures viewers that identity isn't fixed, and that even those labeled as other or dangerous can evolve, grow, and find their rightful place. This theme has broad appeal, encouraging audiences to embrace change and believe in the possibility of personal reinvention. Ne Zha, too, also lovingly embraces its cultural and mythological heritage, not just as a backdrop, but as a living, breathing part of its thematic core. The film honors traditional Chinese folklore while reinterpreting it for contemporary audiences, showing how ancient stories carry enduring wisdom and relevance. This dialogue between past and present enriches the narrative, reminding viewers that mythology isn't static but a dynamic tool for understanding human nature and society. Through this lens, the film becomes both a celebration and a reimagining of cultural identity. Themes of community and interconnectedness run through the film as well. While Ne Zha's story is deeply personal, it's set against a larger canvas of family, society, and cosmic balance. The film emphasizes that individual identity and collective belonging are intertwined. Our choices affect not only ourselves but those around us. Moments of reconciliation, cooperation, and mutual understanding highlight the power of connection to heal wounds and build strength. This message feels especially poignant in a modern world where division often dominates, suggesting that empathy and unity remain vital. Importantly, the film handles these complex themes with skill and sensitivity. None of the messages feel forced or preachy. They emerge naturally from character development, plot twists, and visual symbolism. The filmmakers trust the audience to engage thoughtfully, using subtext and nuance rather than explicit exposition. This approach invites viewers into a richer experience, encouraging reflection and discussion long after the film ends. The film also balances these profound ideas with humor, warmth, and thrilling spectacle, ensuring that thematic exploration is never dry or overwhelming. Playful moments and heartfelt interactions provide emotional variety and accessibility, making the film enjoyable on multiple levels. This blend of fun and depth keeps viewers emotionally connected and intellectually stimulated, a rare combination in mythic storytelling. The visual effects in CGI in Ne Zha 2 are nothing short of a spectacular feast for the eyes, a grand symphony of digital artistry that seamlessly fuses with the film's mythological and emotional core. From the moment the film begins, it's evident that the visual effects team has gone above and beyond to create a world that feels both fantastical and palpably real. Instead of the CGI standing out as something artificial or distracting, it integrates so naturally into the film's fabric that you almost forget you're watching effects. It simply becomes part of the immersive storytelling experience. One of the most impressive aspects of the visual effects is how thoughtfully they complement the film's unique visual style. The color palettes, textures, and lighting used in the CGI are carefully matched to the practical elements on set, creating a consistent and believable environment. This attention to detail prevents the jarring dissonance that sometimes occurs when CGI clashes with live-action footage. Instead, everything feels harmoniously blended. The fiery powers in Ne Zha crackle with heat and depth that you can almost feel, while the ethereal glow of celestial realms and spirits is rendered with delicate luminosity that enhances their otherworldly presence. The film's approach to balancing CGI with practical effects is masterful. Many sequences rely on real-world stunts, intricately designed costumes, and detailed set pieces that ground the action and characters in reality. The CGI acts as an enhancer rather than a replacement, adding layers of magic and scale without overshadowing the human element. For example, combat scenes feel visceral and physical because the actors' movements and stunt choreography remain front and center. The CGI flames, lightning, and elemental forces swirl around these performances, elevating the spectacle while preserving the tactile immediacy of real action. This blend keeps the viewer emotionally connected, ensuring the fantasy feels earned and not superficial. The environments crafted through CGI are breathtaking in their scope and artistry. The film transports audiences across a vast range of settings, from lush, detailed forests and ancient temples steeped in history, to sweeping cosmic landscapes brimming with stars and mysticism. Each location feels meticulously designed, with layers of digital detail that create a vivid, immersive atmosphere. Whether it's a rustle of leaves stirred by a passing breeze, the shimmer of water reflecting magical light, or the swirling mist that cloak mysterious realms, the CGI enriches the film's sensory texture. The camera often swoops and glides through these digital landscapes with fluidity, enhancing the sense of scale and wonder, and inviting viewers to explore this expansive mythic universe. Creatures and supernatural beings brought to life through CGI stand out not just for their visual complexity, but for the personality and emotion infused into their designs. Rather than feeling like generic digital monsters, each entity exhibits unique traits, subtle movements, and expressive features that elevate them beyond spectacle. Whether it's a menacing demon snarling with fierce intent or a majestic celestial spirit radiating calm power, these digital creations feel alive and integral to the story. Their interactions with live actors are convincing and nuanced, a testament to the careful choreography and technological precision behind the scenes. Light and shadow play a pivotal role in the film's visual effects, and Ne Zha too uses them with artistic finesse. Glowing auras, flickering flames, and shimmering energy fields aren't mere visual flourishes. They are active storytelling tools that shape the mood, highlight emotional beats, and direct the viewer's attention. The way light dances across surfaces, casting shifting shadows and illuminating faces, adds depth and dimension to every scene. This dynamic interplay enhances tension, mystery, or triumph as needed, subtly influencing how the audience perceives and feels each moment. The lighting effects help transform ordinary frames into painterly compositions that linger in the mind. The choreography of the visual effects, especially during battle sequences, is a breathtaking highlight. The film employs dynamic camera movements and slow-motion sequences that work in perfect harmony with the CGI. Explosions of elemental power spiral and collide in intricate patterns, while sparks and debris scatter with convincing physics. These moments are not just eye candy. They function as expressive extensions of character emotions and narrative stakes. The visual rhythm created by the combination of camera work and effects mirrors the intensity and fluidity of combat, making these scenes exhilarating and emotionally charged. The effects amplify the story rather than just decorating it. Importantly, the film avoids overusing CGI, a pitfall that can lead to viewer fatigue or diminished impact. The effects are deployed with great care and precision, saving the most intense visual displays for moments of genuine narrative importance. This restraint ensures that when effects do appear in full force, they command attention and awe without overwhelming the story or the audience. The film balances spectacle with substance, maintaining clarity and emotional engagement throughout. In addition to the grand set pieces, the visual effects team excels in subtle, almost imperceptible enhancements that enrich the film's texture. Particles like drifting dust motes, floating embers, and wisps of mist add realism and atmosphere to scenes, making environments feel lived in and vibrant. These delicate details enhance immersion, providing a tactile sense of place that grounds mythology in a tangible sensory world. It's this level of craftsmanship, attention to the tiniest elements, that elevates the overall visual experience. Transformation sequences and magical manifestations showcase the perfect synergy between practical and digital effects. When characters shift form or unleash powers, the transition from physical makeup, costumes, and props to CGI enhancements is smooth and convincing. The tactile quality of practical effects grounds these moments, while digital effects add fluidity, scale, and spectacle. This blend ensures that fantasy remains believable and emotionally resonant, not just visually impressive. Sound design amplifies the impact of visual effects, creating a multisensory tapestry that makes magical moments feel visceral and immersive. The crackle of fire, the whoosh of energy, and the rumble of impact are perfectly synchronized with CGI elements, enhancing realism and excitement. This collaboration between sound and visuals heightens the audience's engagement, making effects feel tangible rather than artificial. Overall, the visual effects in CGI in Ne Zha are a triumph of modern filmmaking craft. They don't merely serve as decorative flourishes, but as essential tools that build a fully realized, immersive world where myth and reality intertwine. Every flame flicker, gust of wind, and shimmer of magic feels purposeful, adding emotional weight and narrative depth. The careful balance of practical and digital effects keeps the story grounded and the spectacle thrilling. The result is a breathtaking mythic adventure that dazzles the eyes while enriching the soul, inviting audiences to lose themselves in a stunningly crafted universe where the impossible feels real and every visual detail tells a story. The set design and locations in Ne Zha elevate the film to a whole new level of immersive storytelling, transforming every scene into a visually rich and culturally textured experience that deeply roots the mythological narrative in a believable and captivating world. The production design team has painstakingly crafted environments that do much more than simply frame the action. They actively shape the story, deepen character development, and convey thematic nuances through space, texture, and cultural symbolism. Each setting feels intentional and alive, inviting viewers to explore the layers of history, tradition, and emotion embedded within them. Starting with the earthly realms, the film's village and townscapes are bursting with authenticity and warmth. The set decorators have filled these spaces with props and details that tell stories of everyday life. Whether wooden doors with intricate carvings, worn stone steps smoothed by generations of footsteps, vibrant market stalls brimming with colorful goods, and humble homes filled with well-used utensils and handmade fabrics. These details might seem small, but together they create a rich tapestry of life that grounds the story in relatable human experiences. The textures, the peeling paint, the rough stone, the flicker of candlelight, invite the viewer to feel the history and daily rhythms of these communities. It's a world that feels lived in, tangible, and lovingly crafted, not just a backdrop for mythic action. The contrast between these grounded, earthy locations and the film's more fantastical settings is stunning. When the story shifts to celestial palaces, divine temples, or otherworldly battlefields, the production design transforms accordingly, conjuring spaces of awe and grandeur that echo ancient myth and spiritual transcendence. These realms are adorned with towering columns, sweeping staircases, and expansive courtyards, all designed with a sense of scale and majesty that befits the gods and spirits who inhabit them. Gold leaf accents, jade inlays, and ornate mosaics reflect the richness of traditional Chinese artistry, while ethereal lighting effects bathe these spaces in a mystical glow that sets them apart from the earthly world. The architectural style cleverly blends historical influences with imaginative flourishes, creating environments that feel both timeless and fantastical. What truly sets a film apart is how seamlessly the production design navigates the transition between these two worlds. The visual storytelling doesn't rely on jarring cuts or obvious markers, but instead uses subtle design cues, shifts in color palette, changes in material textures, or variations in spatial layout, to gently guide the audience from the mundane to the magical. For instance, a quiet village street might lead the eye toward an ancient shrine, its design hinting at celestial origins, inviting curiosity and foreshadowing the film's mythic elements. This fluid blending enriches the narrative, making the world feel cohesive and layered rather than compartmentalized. The cultural authenticity embedded in the design choices adds tremendous depth and resonance. Every architectural element, prop, and decorative motif is steeped in symbolism and tradition, reflecting the film's roots in Chinese mythology and heritage. The sweeping roofs with upturned eaves, red lacquered columns, paper lanterns, intricate lattice windows, and painted scrolls evoke a palpable sense of place and time, anchoring the fantastical story within a recognizable cultural framework. This fidelity to cultural detail enriches the viewing experience, allowing audiences to appreciate the mythic tale not only as entertainment, but also as a vibrant expression of heritage. Props play an equally vital role in world building, with each object carefully designed to enhance narrative and character depth. Weapons gleam with runic engravings hinting at ancient powers. Talismans shimmer with subtle magical energy, and everyday items, from a well-worn teapot to a child's handmade toy, carry emotional weight. These artifacts don't just decorate the sets. They act as visual storytelling tools that reveal character histories, social dynamics, and thematic undercurrents. For example, a broken sword displayed in a warrior's home might symbolize past defeat and resilience, while a family heirloom passed between characters can represent legacy and connection. The design of spaces also functions to establish mood and atmosphere throughout the film. Dimly lit chambers, with shadows flickering from candle flames, evoke mystery and tension, while open courtyards bathed in golden sunlight inspire feelings of hope and renewal. The careful modulation of space, whether tight and claustrophobic or vast and expansive, mirrors the emotional arcs of the characters and the pacing of a narrative. For example, a tense confrontation in a narrow hallway heightens feelings of confinement and pressure, while a sprawling battlefield or celestial palace conveys grandeur and high stakes. This spatial storytelling enriches the film's emotional impact and helps immerse the audience fully. Scale is another important dimension of the set design. The film balances intimate, personal spaces with monumental, epic environments that underscore its mythological scope. Small village homes and workshops feel cozy and human, inviting viewers into the characters' private worlds, while grand temples, heavenly courts, and celestial landscapes convey the cosmic scale of the story's conflicts and stakes. The towering pillars, ornate facades, and vast open spaces emphasize the weight of tradition, power, and destiny, creating a visual contrast that mirrors the narrative tension between the mortal and the divine. The interaction between characters and their surroundings is fluid and convincing, further enhancing immersion. Characters handle objects naturally, inhabit their spaces authentically, and react to environmental details in ways that reinforce the believability of the world. Scenes set in cluttered workshops or humble homes feel lived in and familiar, with the characters' movements and interactions with props enhancing their humanity. Conversely, moments in celestial realms carry a sense of ceremony and ritual, with characters moving with grace and purpose within carefully designed symbolic spaces. This dynamic relationship between character and environment deepens emotional resonance and narrative clarity. Environmental storytelling is a subtle but powerful tool employed throughout the production design. Murals faded by time, symbolic statues, worn pathways, and carefully arranged objects hint at untold histories and past events, adding layers of meaning to the visual experience. These details encourage attentive viewers to engage more deeply with the world, piecing together stories and lore that enrich the main narrative. This layered design gives the film's universe a sense of continuity and depth, making it feel like a place with a living past and evolving future. The dialogue and script in Ne Zha 2 stand out as a vibrant blend of sharp wit, heartfelt emotion, and thoughtful storytelling that keeps the audience hooked from start to finish. The writing strikes a perfect balance between playful banter and profound moments, creating a dynamic flow that feels both natural and engaging. Rather than bogging down the narrative with exposition or overly formal speeches, the script uses dialogue as a living, breathing part of the characters' interactions, making every conversation feel purposeful and revealing. One of the most impressive aspects of the script is its ability to craft dialogue that feels authentic to each character's personality and background. Ne Zha himself comes across as fiery and rebellious, his words crackling with energy and confidence. Yet beneath his bravado lies vulnerability that surfaces through more tender lines. His speech patterns change as he grows, reflecting his evolving understanding of himself and his world. Supporting characters also shine through distinct voices, from wise elders whose measured, poetic expressions carry the weight of tradition, to mischievous spirits whose playful quips add levity and charm. This diversity of voices enriches the film's texture and keeps conversations lively and believable. The script shines especially when it comes to moments of sharp wit and humor. Quick, clever exchanges punctuate the story, breaking tension, and adding a layer of entertainment that never feels out of place. These moments reveal character dynamics and relationships in a way that's both fun and insightful. Whether it's a sarcastic retort, a teasing jab, or a clever observation, the humor feels organic, flowing naturally from the characters' personalities and the situations they find themselves in. This balance of humor with the film's darker or more dramatic moments keeps the tone engaging and well-rounded. But the dialogue isn't just about lightheartedness. It also carries significant emotional weight. The script masterfully navigates complex feelings, frustration, hope, fear, determination, through carefully crafted exchanges that reveal internal struggles and personal growth. Scenes where characters confront their fears, express regret, or voice hopes for the future are imbued with sincerity and depth, allowing the audience to connect deeply with their journeys. These emotionally charged lines linger long after they're spoken, highlighting the film's commitment to character-driven storytelling. Certain standout lines and exchanges act as thematic anchors, encapsulating key ideas or turning points in the narrative. These memorable phrases often carry double meanings or symbolic weight, inviting reflection and discussion. For example, Ne Zha's defiant declarations about fate and self-determination become rallying cries that resonate beyond the story, capturing universal struggles with identity and agency. The script peppers the dialogue with such moments, giving the film a poetic quality that elevates it beyond straightforward myth retelling. The pacing of the dialogue is another strength. Conversations are well-timed, neither dragging nor feeling rushed, allowing emotional beats to land with impact while maintaining narrative momentum. The script knows when to linger on a meaningful silence or a look shared between characters, using subtext as effectively as spoken words. This subtlety adds layers to the viewing experience, encouraging audiences to read between the lines and engage actively with the story. The film also excels in blending formal, mythic language with colloquial speech. At times, characters speak in elevated, almost lyrical tones befitting gods and legendary heroes, while other moments reveal casual, relatable speech that grounds the story in human experience. This duality enhances the film's accessibility, making it feel both epic and intimate. The dialogue bridges a gap between ancient myth and contemporary storytelling, appealing to a wide range of viewers. Importantly, the script avoids cliches and predictable lines. Instead, it offers fresh takes on familiar themes and archetypes, often twisting expectations with clever turns of phrase or unexpected insights. This originality keeps the dialogue feeling vibrant and engaging, steering clear of the formulaic traps that sometimes plague fantasy and myth-based stories. Character interactions are enriched by subtext and layered meaning within the dialogue. Moments that seem like casual exchanges often carry deeper emotional or narrative significance, revealing hidden motivations or foreshadowing future developments. This layering rewards attentive viewers and adds richness to the script's texture. The dialogue also plays a key role in world building. Through conversations, characters reveal cultural norms, historical context, and mythological lore without resorting to clunky exposition. The script uses natural dialogue to immerse audiences in the film's universe, making the world feel lived in and coherent. The writing team clearly values the power of words, crafting lines that resonate with the film's themes of identity, destiny, and transformation. The dialogue doesn't just move the plot forward, it deepens the emotional resonance and philosophical undercurrents of the story, making the film not just entertaining but thought-provoking. In summary, the dialogue and script in Ne Zha 2 are dynamic, nuanced, and richly textured. They combine humor, emotion, and wisdom in a way that brings characters to life, advances a narrative with clarity and grace, and leaves audiences both entertained and moved. The script's skillful writing ensures that every spoken word carries weight, charm, or insight, making the film's conversations as memorable as its stunning visuals and compelling action. Ne Zha 2 plays with genre conventions in a way that both honors tradition and pushes boundaries, delivering a story that feels familiar yet refreshingly original. At its core, it's a mythological fantasy packed with epic battles, supernatural powers, and larger-than-life characters, ticking off many of the classic boxes you'd expect from the genre. But instead of settling into a predictable rhythm, the film breathes new life into these conventions by blending them with unexpected twists, emotional depth, and clever tonal shifts that keep the audience constantly engaged. The action sequences, a staple of the fantasy genre, are handled with exhilarating energy and inventive choreography. Rather than relying solely on brute force or flashy spectacle, the battles are carefully crafted to showcase not just power, but character growth and strategy. Ne Zha's fights aren't just about defeating enemies. They're expressions of his inner turmoil, growth, and determination. This integration of emotional stakes with physical combat elevates the action beyond mere set pieces, adding layers of meaning to every punch, spark, and flame. Suspense is woven skillfully throughout the narrative, often through unexpected character choices or shifting alliances. The film avoids the trap of telegraphing every plot twist. Instead, it builds tension with subtle hints and moral ambiguity that keep viewers guessing. Moments of calm are often undercut by a looming sense of danger, and the story balances these peaks and valleys expertly to maintain engagement. This pacing prevents the fantasy adventure from becoming a non-stop adrenaline rush, giving room for reflection and emotional connection. Humor is another refreshing element that Ne Zha 2 uses to great effect. The film deftly blends moments of levity with its more serious themes, preventing the story from becoming overly heavy or dour. The humor arises naturally from character interactions, witty dialogue, and situational comedy, making it feel genuine rather than forced. This lightness serves as a breath of fresh air amid the epic battles and mythic stakes, humanizing the characters and making them more relatable. It's this balance of humor with drama that keeps the tone dynamic and the audience emotionally invested. Drama in Ne Zha 2 is richly layered and thoughtfully developed, often centered on themes of identity, destiny, and belonging. The film doesn't shy away from exploring complex emotions and moral dilemmas, giving characters nuanced arcs that resonate beyond the typical hero versus villain formula. Instead of clear-cut good and evil, the story delves into gray areas, presenting conflicts that challenge characters' beliefs and force them to grow. This thematic depth adds weight to the drama, and makes the narrative feel meaningful rather than just entertaining. Where the film really shakes up genre expectations is in its narrative structure and character focus. It doesn't simply follow a linear hero's journey, but experiments with perspective and pacing, occasionally shifting focus between characters and exploring side stories that enrich the main plot. This approach adds texture and complexity, giving the audience a broader view of the mythic world and the forces at play. The film also introduces fresh ideas about fate and free will, destiny and choice, offering a philosophical underpinning that adds sophistication to the genre fare. While Ne Zha 2 embraces many genre conventions, it cleverly subverts cliches that often weigh down similar stories. The characters avoid stereotypical archetypes by displaying unexpected traits and motivations. Heroes wrestle with flaws and doubts, villains reveal surprising vulnerabilities, and relationships evolve in unpredictable ways. This subversion keeps the story feeling alive and avoids the tired tropes that can make fantasy feel stale. For example, rather than a one-dimensional antagonist, the film presents layered characters whose goals and backstories add moral complexity and emotional resonance. The film's visual style and tone also contribute to its successful genre execution. It blends stunning, high-energy sequences with moments of quiet introspection and beauty, allowing the genre scope to expand beyond battles and magic into emotional landscapes. This tonal versatility prevents the film from feeling monotonous, instead creating a rhythm that ebbs and flows naturally, inviting the audience on a multifaceted journey. Music and sound design play their part in reinforcing genre expectations, while also adding unique flavor. The score shifts seamlessly between rousing, heroic themes during action scenes and softer, more contemplative melodies during character-driven moments. This musical dynamism enhances the genre experience by supporting the shifting moods and reinforcing the film's thematic contrasts. The film also smartly uses mythology and cultural elements not just as decorative world-building, but as integral parts of the story and genre identity. This grounding in cultural lore gives a fantasy a distinct flavor that differentiates it from Western genre counterparts, providing freshness through its unique mythos and symbolic richness. This cultural specificity enriches the genre execution, making the film feel both globally appealing and deeply rooted in tradition. Overall, Ne Zha 2 delivers a genre experience that is thrilling, emotionally engaging, and refreshingly original. It respects the conventions of mythological fantasy, but isn't afraid to innovate, balancing action, suspense, humor, and drama in a way that keeps the audience captivated and invested. The film invites viewers into a familiar yet exciting world where classic themes are explored through fresh perspectives and lively storytelling, proving that even well-trodden genres can still surprise and delight when handled with creativity and heart. Ne Zha 2 isn't just a dazzling mythological spectacle. It also packs in a surprisingly thoughtful social and cultural commentary that bubbles beneath the surface, adding layers of relevance to its fantastical story. The film skillfully weaves contemporary issues into its narrative fabric without feeling preachy or forced, making these themes part of the natural rhythm of the plot and character arcs rather than tacked-on messages. It's like the filmmakers have taken ancient mythology and, rather than leaving it locked in the past, use it as a mirror to reflect on modern-day questions of identity, belonging, and social pressure. One of the standout themes running through the film is the struggle with individual identity in the face of societal expectations. Ne Zha's journey isn't just about battling external demons, but also wrestling with who he is supposed to be versus who he wants to become. This tension echoes a very real contemporary experience, especially for younger generations navigating tradition, family pressures, and a desire for personal freedom. The film explores how rigid roles or stereotypes can stifle growth and happiness, and it does so with a nuanced touch that feels honest and relatable. This theme is embedded so naturally in the characters' struggles that it never feels like a lecture, but rather a heartfelt exploration of universal human experience. The film also touches on the theme of social marginalization and prejudice, using its mythic creatures and characters as metaphors for the other. Characters who are feared or misunderstood because of their origins or powers represent those who are often sidelined or discriminated against in real life. This allegory is handled deftly, showing the harm that fear and misunderstanding can cause, as well as the power of empathy and acceptance. It invites viewers to question their own biases and consider the value of embracing diversity rather than fearing difference. By embedding this message in the story's conflicts and resolutions, the film makes a strong cultural statement without ever feeling heavy-handed. Another intriguing layer of social commentary involves the tension between fate and free will, a philosophical theme that resonates in today's fast-changing, uncertain world. The film questions the idea of predestined paths and challenges characters to assert their own agency. This can be seen as a metaphor for individuals and societies grappling with inherited systems or expectations and trying to carve out new identities and futures. The film suggests that while tradition and history matter, growth and change require courage and choice, a hopeful and empowering message that feels timely and meaningful. Gender roles and expectations are subtly addressed as well. While the film primarily follows Ne Zha's story, the supporting cast includes strong, complex female characters who defy stereotypical roles. Their presence and actions challenge traditional gender norms within the story's cultural context, presenting a more progressive and inclusive view. This approach enriches a narrative by showcasing a variety of perspectives and emphasizing the importance of equality and respect. The film doesn't spotlight this as a central issue, but rather integrates it smoothly into character development and interactions, which makes it feel authentic and organic. The film's use of family dynamics as a lens to explore cultural values adds emotional depth and relevance. Themes of loyalty, sacrifice, misunderstanding, and reconciliation play out in ways that reflect contemporary social realities, while remaining true to the mythic source material. The depiction of family as both a source of strength and conflict resonates widely, transcending cultural boundaries. It highlights the complexity of human relationships without falling into melodrama, using subtle dialogue and nuanced performances to explore these ideas with sensitivity. Ne Zha, too, also nods to environmental awareness, though more subtly. The elemental forces that play such a big role in the story, fire, water, wind, are portrayed not just as powers, but as integral parts of a balanced world. The film suggests respect for nature's forces and the dangers of upsetting that balance, which can be read as an ecological caution wrapped in mythic storytelling. This theme emerges naturally through plot developments and visual storytelling rather than explicit exposition, making it feel like an organic part of the narrative. Cultural pride and preservation are woven throughout the film's aesthetic and storytelling choices. By drawing heavily from Chinese mythology, art, and philosophy, the film celebrates cultural heritage while also showing that these ancient stories can still speak powerfully to modern audiences. It conveys a message about the value of understanding and embracing one's roots while also evolving beyond them. This dual respect for tradition and innovation feels timely in a world where globalization and cultural identity often collide. Importantly, the film handles these sensitive and complex topics with care and balance. It avoids oversimplification or didacticism, choosing instead to explore ambiguity and contradictions that make the themes more relatable and thought-provoking. Characters are not painted in black and white, but are shown grappling with conflicting feelings and difficult choices, mirroring real-life complexities. This nuanced approach invites viewers to engage actively with the film's messages, encouraging reflection rather than prescribing answers. The cultural commentary is delivered through story, character, and visual symbolism rather than overt statements, which keeps the film's pace lively and entertaining. This subtlety rewards attentive audiences who appreciate the deeper layers beneath the spectacular visuals and action, but also allows casual viewers to enjoy the film without feeling burdened by heavy-handed themes. The result is a movie that manages to be both fun and meaningful, a rare balance that enriches the overall experience. In short, Ne Zha 2 is not only a thrilling mythic adventure, but also a thoughtful reflection on contemporary social and cultural issues. Its themes of identity, acceptance, agency, and heritage resonate deeply without sacrificing entertainment value. The film invites audiences to consider the connections between ancient stories and modern lives, proving that mythology can be a powerful lens for understanding the world today. Ne Zha 2 grabs hold of its audience in the very first scene and doesn't let go, creating an emotional roller coaster that pulls viewers through laughter, tears, shock, and exhilaration. The film's ability to connect on such a visceral level is one of its greatest strengths, making the viewing experience feel like a deeply personal journey even amid all the grand mythic spectacle. It understands that beyond the dazzling visuals and thrilling action, what truly makes a story memorable is how it makes the audience feel, and it excels at delivering those moments that stick with you long after credits roll. Right from the start, the film teases out empathy for its characters, especially Ne Zha, whose struggles with identity, acceptance, and destiny feel universal despite the fantastical setting. This emotional grounding ensures that when Ne Zha faces challenges or heartbreak, the audience experiences those moments alongside him, sharing in his triumphs and defeats. The character's arc is crafted with nuance and sincerity, inviting viewers to invest not just intellectually, but emotionally. Whether Ne Zha is lashing out in frustration or quietly wrestling with doubt, these scenes resonate because they tap into real human feelings of struggle and hope. The film knows exactly when to lighten the mood and offer moments of genuine laughter, which provides a refreshing balance to the more intense sequences. Witty banter between characters, playful interactions, and well-timed comedic relief break tension without undercutting the story's stakes. These bursts of humor feel organic, emerging naturally from character personalities and relationships rather than feeling inserted for the sake of laughs. This dynamic keeps the audience emotionally engaged on multiple levels, making the experience feel rounded and satisfying. At its most poignant, Ne Zha 2 delivers scenes that move the audience to tears, whether at a moment of heartfelt confession, a painful sacrifice, or the bittersweet reconciliation between characters. The emotional beats are handled with care and depth, avoiding melodrama by focusing on subtle performances and carefully written dialogue. These quieter moments offer a welcome contrast to the high-energy sequences, allowing viewers to catch their breath and reflect. The film's emotional honesty makes these scenes powerful and memorable, striking a chord that lingers well beyond the theater or screen. Excitement and shock come hand in hand to the film's expertly crafted action and plot twists. The battle scenes aren't just adrenaline-fueled spectacle. They carry real narrative weight and emotional stakes, which amplifies the thrill. Unexpected reversals and revelations keep the audience on the edge of their seats, ensuring that engagement remains high throughout. The choreography and pacing build to moments of breathtaking intensity, punctuated by surprising turns that jolt viewers out of complacency. This unpredictability makes the story feel alive and vibrant, inviting audiences to stay fully present and engaged. One of the ways the film fosters audience engagement is through its richly layered storytelling, which invites repeat viewings and deeper reflection. The narrative is packed with symbolism, foreshadowing, and nuanced character interactions that reward close attention. Viewers who return to the film often discover new details, hidden meanings, or emotional subtleties they missed the first time, enriching their understanding and appreciation. This complexity encourages discussion among fans, sparking conversations about themes, character motivations, and the film's cultural references. It's the kind of movie that invites you to think and feel long after the initial viewing. The film's emotional resonance also extends beyond the individual viewer to create a communal experience. Shared reactions of laughter, gasps, or tears during screenings foster a sense of connection among audiences, amplifying the impact of key scenes. This collective engagement often leads to lively discussions about favorite moments, characters, and interpretations, further deepening the bond between the film and its viewers. Whether watching with friends, family, or fellow fans, Ne Zha 2 becomes a catalyst for shared emotional journeys and storytelling appreciation. Furthermore, the film's combination of high-stakes drama and relatable human themes makes it accessible to a wide audience. It appeals to both fans of mythological fantasy and those drawn to character-driven stories of growth and self-discovery. This broad appeal ensures that emotional engagement isn't limited to niche groups, but resonates across demographics, allowing diverse viewers to find something meaningful and entertaining in the film. The soundtrack and sound design also play a crucial role in enhancing audience engagement. Musical cues heighten emotional moments, whether by swelling during triumphant scenes or softening during intimate exchanges. Sound effects intensify action sequences, making viewers feel as if they're right in the midst of the chaos or wonder. This audio-visual synergy deepens immersion, helping the audience live the story rather than just observe it. Finally, the film's thoughtful pacing ensures that emotional highs and lows are spaced to maximize impact. Intense scenes are balanced by quieter, reflective moments, preventing fatigue and allowing feelings to resonate. This rhythm keeps viewers emotionally invested without overwhelming them, creating a satisfying ebb and flow that sustains engagement throughout. In essence, Ne Zha 2 is a masterclass in audience engagement, blending humor, heartache, excitement, and surprise into a captivating package that speaks directly to the viewer's emotions. It invites audiences not just to watch, but to experience the story fully, to laugh, cry, cheer, and think, making it a cinematic journey that stays with you long after the screen goes dark. When you place Ne Zha 2 side by side with other films in the mythological fantasy genre, it quickly becomes clear that this movie isn't just riding the coattails of its predecessors. It's actively pushing the boundaries and redefining what audiences can expect. Compared to the original Ne Zha from 2019, which was already a milestone in Chinese animation for its fresh take on a beloved folk hero, the sequel steps up the game by expanding its scope and deepening its emotional resonance. While the first film focused heavily on the classic hero's journey with a strong dose of rebellious energy and humor, Ne Zha 2 takes a more layered approach, blending grand spectacle with intimate character moments and philosophical questions about destiny and identity. Looking at its peers internationally, Ne Zha 2 holds its own against some of the best-known fantasy epics and animated blockbusters. It doesn't just mimic the formula of flashy action and eye-popping visuals. Instead, it integrates cultural specificity and emotional nuance in a way that feels distinctly authentic. Unlike many Western fantasy films that often rely on broad archetypes, this film draws deeply from Chinese mythology and folklore, offering audiences a unique palette of characters, settings, and themes that are rich in symbolism and tradition. This cultural rootedness gives the film a fresh flavor that sets it apart from other animated fantasies, making it both an exciting adventure and a window into a vibrant storytelling heritage. In terms of the director's filmography, Ne Zha 2 represents a bold evolution. If you track the director's previous work, you'll notice a pattern of growing ambition, not just in scale but in thematic complexity. Earlier projects might have leaned more on straightforward storytelling and visual flair, but here we see a maturing vision that embraces moral ambiguity, emotional depth, and stylistic experimentation. The film's pacing, narrative structure, and character development all reflect a confidence and sophistication that mark a significant step forward. It's clear the director isn't content to repeat past successes, but is eager to challenge themselves and the audience. Compared to other entries in the broader genre of myth-inspired animation, such as Kung Fu Panda or How to Train Your Dragon, Ne Zha 2 stands out by combining the fantastical with a distinctly philosophical and cultural edge. Where some franchises focus primarily on humor or action, this film balances those elements with contemplative moments and themes about fate, societal expectations, and self-identity. It doesn't shy away from darker or more complex emotions either, which adds layers of maturity that can appeal to older audiences while still captivating younger viewers with its visual spectacle. One interesting comparison is with other Asian animated features that explore myth and folklore. Films like Japan's Princess Mononoke or Spirited Away set high bars for blending myth with human emotion and environmental themes. Ne Zha 2 joins this conversation by offering a distinct voice rooted in Chinese myth, but with universal themes, placing it among the notable modern Asian animations that resonate globally. It manages to keep the spirit of traditional storytelling alive while harnessing cutting-edge animation technology to bring these tales to life with stunning detail and dynamism. On the flip side, Ne Zha 2 also resists falling into the trap of formulaic franchise sequels that simply rehash the original's beats with bigger budgets. While it retains beloved characters and core themes, it introduces new challenges, fresh characters, and narrative complexity that keep the story from feeling stale. The film takes risks by exploring deeper philosophical questions and by broadening its emotional scope, rather than sticking rigidly to the hero saves the day template. This willingness to evolve makes it feel like a thoughtful continuation rather than a cash-in. Visually, the film leaps ahead of many comparable works by combining traditional artistic influences with hyper-realistic CGI effects. The vibrant color palettes, detailed textures, and fluid animation create a feast for the eyes that feels both modern and respectful of classical Chinese art forms. This blend of old and new in the visual style mirrors the film's thematic balance of tradition and innovation, setting it apart in a crowded market of fantasy animations. Narratively, Ne Zha 2 plays with genre expectations by mixing epic battle sequences with quieter character studies, something not all films in the space manage to juggle successfully. It embraces ambiguity and moral complexity, presenting characters who struggle with choices and consequences, rather than clear-cut heroes and villains. This narrative sophistication adds richness and invites viewers to think and feel more deeply about the story. In terms of soundtrack and sound design, the film similarly compares favorably with top-tier fantasy films. Its score weaves traditional Chinese instruments and motifs with sweeping orchestral arrangements, creating an oral landscape that supports both intimate emotional moments and grand, cinematic action. This blend further enhances the film's unique identity within the genre. Ultimately, while Ne Zha 2 shares DNA with other mythological fantasies and animated epics, it distinguishes itself through a potent combination of cultural specificity, emotional depth, visual innovation, and narrative maturity. It's a film that feels both a proud continuation of beloved traditions and a bold step forward into new creative territory, setting a high bar for future entries in the genre and franchise alike. Ne Zha 2 is packed to the brim with symbolism and metaphor, making a treasure trove for anyone who loves peeling back layers to discover hidden meanings that deepen the story. Far from being just a surface-level adventure, the film uses visual cues, recurring motifs, and symbolic elements to enrich its themes and invite viewers into a more immersive and thoughtful experience. One of the most striking symbolic threads running throughout the film is a recurring motif of fire and transformation. Fire isn't just a cool visual effect or a weapon in battles. It's a powerful metaphor for interchange, destruction, and rebirth. Ne Zha's fiery power symbolizes volatile personality and the inner turmoil he faces, but they also hint at his potential for renewal and growth. The way fire both consumes and creates echoes the film's exploration of identity. Sometimes you have to burn away the old to make room for the new. This dual nature of fire is both destructive and life-giving, add a poetic layer to the narrative, reminding audiences that struggle and chaos can lead to transformation. Water is another elemental motif that appears repeatedly, often contrasting with fire to symbolize balance, adaptability, and emotional depth. Scenes featuring flowing rivers, rain, or ocean vistas aren't just pretty backdrops. They subtly emphasize moments of calm, reflection, or cleansing. This water-fire interplay visually reinforces the film's themes of duality, strength and vulnerability, fate and choice, chaos and order. The presence of water as a soothing, ever-moving force suggests the possibility of healing and renewal amid conflict. The dragon, a powerful symbol in Chinese culture, features prominently and serves multiple metaphorical roles. It represents strength, wisdom, and the connection between the earthly and celestial realms. But the film plays with this symbolism by also showing dragons as misunderstood or conflicted beings, which adds complexity. The dragon motif ties into themes of legacy and destiny, questioning whether power is a blessing or a burden, and how much of one's path is shaped by heritage versus personal will. Color symbolism is thoughtfully used throughout the film to reinforce emotions and themes. Red, for example, appears not only as a color in Ne Zha's fiery powers, but also as a symbol of passion, danger, and fate. It punctuates critical scenes, heightening emotional intensity or signaling moments of transformation. Meanwhile, cooler colors like blue and green often mark moments of tranquility, introspection, or connection to nature and the spiritual world. This careful palette choice helps guide the audience's emotional response without a word being spoken. The motif of the phoenix appears subtly but meaningfully, often linked with ideas of resurrection, immortality, and cyclical change. This symbol complements the fire motif and deepens the narrative's meditation on rebirth and the possibility of rising anew after hardship. It also resonates with the film's broader cultural roots, where the phoenix is an emblem of grace and renewal, lending a mythic grandeur to Ne Zha's personal journey. Visual metaphors related to mirrors and reflections crop up in key scenes, underscoring the theme of self-discovery and the tension between how characters see themselves versus how others see them. Reflections often appear fragmented or distorted, symbolizing confusion or inner conflict. These moments invite viewers to think about the nature of identity and perception, adding psychological depth to the story. The film also plays with the imagery of chains and bindings, symbolizing the constraints of fate, tradition, or social expectations. Characters struggle against these invisible shackles, making the act of breaking free a potent metaphor for asserting agency and carving out one's own destiny. These visual cues appear in moments of tension and release, reinforcing the theme that true freedom comes from within. Mythical creatures and spirits that populate the film's world serve as living metaphors for human emotions, cultural values, and existential questions. Each fantastical being isn't just a cool design, but embodies specific traits or conflicts, creating a layered narrative where myth and reality intertwine. Their interactions with Ne Zha reflect broader themes of acceptance, fear, and transformation, making the magical world a mirror for human experience. The film's use of cyclical imagery, such as the changing seasons, the rising and setting sun, and circular architectural patterns, evokes ideas of time's passage, destiny's repetitive nature, and the possibility of renewal. This symbolism reminds viewers that life's challenges are part of a larger, ongoing cycle, encouraging a perspective of hope and resilience despite setbacks. Even the architecture and set design carry symbolic weight. Temples, shrines, and ancient ruins often feature motifs that hint at the film's spiritual and cultural foundations, creating a sense of connection between past and present. The contrast between crumbling ruins and newly built structures visually represents the tension between tradition and innovation, a core theme woven throughout the film. Lastly, the script itself peppers dialogue with metaphorical language and symbolic references that complement the visual storytelling. Characters speak of destiny as a river or life as a flame, using poetic imagery that reinforces the film's thematic concerns. This lyrical quality adds richness to the narrative voice and invites audiences to savor the story's deeper meanings. In all these ways, Ne Zha too uses symbolism and metaphor not as mere decoration, but as integral parts of its storytelling toolkit. These layers invite viewers to engage actively, look beyond the surface, and find personal meaning within the mythic tapestry. It's this rich interplay of symbols and story that gives a film its enduring impact and makes every viewing a chance to discover something new. Ne Zha 2 arrives as a thrilling continuation in the franchise that began with the wildly successful Ne Zha 2019, a film that took Chinese animation and mythology to new heights both at home and internationally. But rather than simply retreading the same ground, this sequel expands the world and deepens the overarching narrative in ways that reward returning fans and intrigue new viewers alike. It's not just a follow-up. It's a bold evolution that adds fresh dimensions to the legend and to the cinematic universe built around it. In the context of the franchise, Ne Zha 2 builds on the foundation laid by the original film, which reimagined the classic mythological figure with a rebellious spirit and a modern sensibility. The first movie focused heavily on Ne Zha's origin story, his defiance of fate and society's expectations, his struggle to be accepted despite his powers and origins. That film was all about identity and self-acceptance, with an energetic and humorous tone that made it accessible and immensely popular. This sequel takes those themes and runs with them, but it also shifts the spotlight outward, expanding the narrative scope beyond Ne Zha's personal journey. It explores a wider mythological world, introducing new characters, realms, and conflicts that enrich the franchise's lore. By doing so, it transforms from a singular hero's tale into a sprawling saga with multiple threads, setting the stage for a larger interconnected universe. This broadening of narrative horizons gives the franchise staying power and opens exciting possibilities for future installments. From a storytelling perspective, Ne Zha 2 digs deeper into questions of destiny and legacy introduced in the original. It plays with the idea that the past isn't just a fixed story, but a living force that shapes the present and future in complex ways. The sequel challenges Ne Zha and other characters to grapple with the consequences of their choices and the weight of their heritage. This evolution adds layers of moral ambiguity and emotional complexity that mature the franchise, showing growth not just in scale, but in narrative sophistication. Technically and stylistically, the sequel raises the bar set by the first film. The animation quality leaps forward with more detailed textures, fluid action sequences, and breathtaking environments that feel alive and immersive. This progression reflects the franchise's ambition to push Chinese animation into the global spotlight with cutting-edge visuals that rival major international studios. The seamless blend of traditional art influences with modern CGI continues to be a hallmark, creating a distinctive visual identity that ties the films together while allowing room for innovation. The musical score and sound design also evolve with the franchise, deepening the emotional resonance and grandeur. While the original film's music introduced audiences to a fresh mix of traditional instruments and modern orchestration, Ne Zha 2 expands on this, crafting an even richer soundscape that supports the larger narrative scale and diverse moods, from intimate character moments to epic battles. This musical continuity helps tie the films into a cohesive experience, while giving each its own unique voice. In terms of character development, The sequel honors established personalities while introducing new faces who challenge and complement the hero. Returning characters show growth in new dimensions, and fresh additions broaden emotional and thematic range. This interplay between old and new strengthens the franchise's emotional core, keeping longtime fans invested while inviting newcomers to join the journey. The film also smartly acknowledges the cultural and historical roots of the Ne Zha legend, blending mythological tradition with contemporary storytelling in a way that feels respectful but not bound by rigid retelling. This approach makes the franchise feel both timeless and timely, bridging the gap between ancient folklore and modern audiences. It invites viewers to rediscover a classic hero through a lens that honors heritage while embracing innovation. Beyond the story itself, Ne Zha 2 contributes to a growing trend of Chinese animation that seeks to tell culturally specific stories with universal appeal. It stands as part of a broader movement that is expanding the global animation landscape, offering narratives and aesthetics that reflect China's rich mythic and artistic traditions while resonating worldwide. As a franchise, Ne Zha represents a milestone in this cultural and cinematic evolution, paving the way for future films to explore similar territory with confidence and creativity. While the film thrives as a sequel, it's also crafted to be accessible to those unfamiliar with the original. It provides enough context and standalone storytelling to invite new audiences in without confusion. This balance between continuity and accessibility is a savvy choice that helps grow the franchise's fan base and cultural impact. In sum, Ne Zha 2 deepens and expands the franchise's mythos, themes, and cinematic ambition. It moves from a focused origin story to an epic saga with broader stakes and richer character dynamics. This film not only honors the success of its predecessor, but boldly charts a path forward, promising an exciting future for Ne Zha's saga within Chinese animation and beyond. Ne Zha 2 rolled into production with a budget that was nothing short of ambitious, signaling that the filmmakers were aiming high both artistically and commercially. Compared to many animated films in its category, especially within the Chinese market, the investment in this sequel was substantial, reflecting confidence in the franchise's growing popularity and its potential to compete on a global stage. This budget allowed the studio to push the boundaries of animation technology, invest in stunning visual effects, intricate character designs, and detailed environments that bring the mythological world to life in spectacular fashion. The production quality clearly benefits from this financial backing. The animation is fluid and rich, showcasing a level of polish that rivals some of the best international animated features. The budget facilitated not only advanced CGI, but also the integration of traditional art styles and cultural aesthetics, lending the film a unique visual identity that feels both fresh and deeply rooted in Chinese heritage. Every frame bursts with color, texture, and movement, underscoring the filmmaker's commitment to delivering a top-tier cinematic experience. When it comes to box office performance, Ne Zha 2 did not disappoint. Riding the wave of enthusiasm generated by the original film and bolstered by an effective marketing campaign, the sequel drew significant crowds domestically and sparked interest internationally. The film's release strategy capitalized on the existing fan base, while attracting new viewers intrigued by its buzzworthy visuals and story. Marketing efforts were smartly targeted, leveraging social media, trailers, and promotional events to build anticipation and create a sense of event around the film's debut. Audience reception played a crucial role in sustaining box office momentum. Positive word of mouth, driven by viewers impressed with the film's narrative depth and visual spectacle, helped maintain strong ticket sales beyond the opening weekend. The film's appeal across different age groups and demographics broadened its market reach, contributing to steady revenue growth. Its blend of familiar mythological elements with modern themes resonated widely, creating a buzz that fueled repeat viewings and discussions among fans. The timing of the release also contributed to its financial success. Launching during a period with relatively less competition from other major blockbusters allowed Ne Zha to dominate the box office for several weeks. This window gave the film room to build an audience and maximize its earnings potential. The studio's decision to release the film on multiple platforms after a theatrical run further extended its commercial life, tapping into growing demand for digital streaming options and home viewing experiences. Despite the high production costs, the film's impressive box office haul and strong ancillary revenue streams made it a financial win for the studio. It proved that investing in quality animation with culturally resonant storytelling could yield substantial returns. The success of Ne Zha 2 also helped solidify the franchise's brand value, positioning it as a lucrative intellectual property with the potential for merchandise, spin-offs, and possibly even international adaptations. However, it wasn't just raw numbers that defined the film's financial story. The marketing savvy and audience enthusiasm were key ingredients in turning a big-budget gamble into a rewarding payoff. The campaign's ability to engage fans early, combined with the film's genuine quality, created a positive feedback loop that drove ticket sales and broadened the franchise's fan base. In summary, Ne Zha 2's budget empowered a visually and narratively rich film that lived up to its production promises. Its box office performance confirmed that audiences were eager to embrace this continuation of a beloved mythological saga, and smart marketing ensured the film's visibility and appeal in a crowded market. The financial success of Ne Zha 2 speaks to the power of blending cultural storytelling with modern cinematic craftsmanship, proving that investing big can pay off when a film connects deeply with its audience. If you want to experience Ne Zha 2 in all its vibrant glory, the best place to start is definitely in theaters, where the film was originally designed to dazzle audiences on the big screen. The immersive animation, sweeping landscapes, and explosive action sequences truly come alive when projected large, making a theater visit a feast of the eyes and ears. The surround sound pumps up the soundtrack and effects, while the vivid colors and intricate details of the animation fill the entire field of vision, something that smaller screens just can't replicate. So if you can catch in a cinema, prepare for a full sensory experience that captures the epic scale and emotional intensity of the story. But of course, not everyone has access to theaters showing Ne Zha 2, especially outside of the home market or major international cities. Thankfully, the film has found a second home on several streaming platforms, making it accessible to a much wider audience from the comfort of your own living room. Whether it's through a subscription streaming service or digital rental platforms, Ne Zha 2 offers plenty of opportunities for viewers to dive into its world whenever they want. Streaming also gives viewers the flexibility to pause, rewind, or rewatch their favorite scenes, which is perfect for soaking up the rich visuals and nuanced storytelling at your own pace. For the best streaming experience, hooking up your device to a high-definition TV or quality home theater setup really makes a difference. The film's stunning animation deserves more than just a laptop or phone screen. It benefits hugely from good resolution, color accuracy, and sound quality. If you got a 4K TV or a sound system, crank it up and let the film's powerful audio-visual atmosphere engulf your room. This way, you get a taste of the theater magic right at home. In some regions, Ne Zha 2 has also been made available for digital purchase or rental on platforms like Amazon Prime Video, Google Play Movies, or Apple iTunes. These options are ideal for viewers who prefer owning a digital copy or don't want to commit to a streaming subscription. Renting is a great way to get a one-time high-quality viewing, while purchasing allows you to build a digital library of favorites that you can revisit anytime. Plus, digital copies often come with bonus features like behind-the-scenes footage or director's commentary, which can add extra layers of enjoyment and insight. For those who prefer physical media, special edition Blu-rays or DVDs might be available, especially in markets where collectors appreciate tangible copies. These versions often boast the best picture and sound quality possible outside of theaters, and include extras like art books, interviews, and concept designs. Having a physical copy also means no worries about internet speed or streaming glitches, just pure, uninterrupted enjoyment. If you're a fan who loves sharing the movie experience, hosting a watch party is a fantastic way to enjoy Ne Zha 2. Whether a home theater with friends or virtually through synchronized streaming, watching together can amplify the emotional highs and fun moments. Discussing the film's stunning visuals, complex characters, or thematic depth immediately after the screening can turn a simple movie night into a memorable event. In short, whether you catch Ne Zha 2 in a bustling cinema packed with excited fans, stream it on your smart TV with crisp visuals and booming sound, or cozy up with a digital or physical copy for a solo deep dive, there's an option out there that fits your viewing style. The film's rich detail and dynamic storytelling reward whichever way you choose. But for the fullest impact, big screen, high-definition sound, and a focused setting without distractions are the way to go. Wherever you watch it, Ne Zha 2 promises an unforgettable journey into myth, magic, and self-discovery.